Hello my fellow witches, sorcerers, and other practitioners. Welcome to my channel. My name is Aiden, and I'm a witch. Today we're going to be looking at my altars. Now, some of you may not be familiar with the concept of an altar, so I'm going to tell it to you right now. An altar is basically a space where you practice magic, witchcraft, occultism, whatever you practice, and you do your workings on there. My altars are for my deities and other spirits. So that's what we'll be looking at today. Now, before we get started, I'd like to give a disclaimer. Not all of this stuff you need to have. You don't need to have all these different things for altars to work. You can have whatever you want on your altar and it'll be absolutely fine. I'll do a separate video explaining how to set up an altar and what you can put on it. In this video, we're just going to be going over my altars and how they look. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. First off here is my altar to Eros and Psyche. If you aren't familiar with Eros and Psyche, they come from the Greek pantheon. We have a statue with a petition under it, which I actually need to remove because I'm done working with that. We've got a candle for Psyche and a candle for Eros. Now, I'm in a dorm at the college, and I'm not allowed to have physical candles with a burning wick. So I use LED candles. They work just fine for what I'm using, and you don't need to have fancy candles if you're going to be working with deities. On here also we have an offering bowl, which is currently empty because most of my offerings to these two are non-physical offerings. I'll do a video later on explaining all types of different offerings that you can leave and do. Right here is my altar to Lucifer. Now, some of you might be out there like, hey, witches can't work with Lucifer. That's a Christian concept. Well, you see, I'm actually not quite pagan, not quite Christian. I'm my own kind of hybrid religion, if that makes sense. And we'll get into that later in the future. But yeah, Lucifer is what you might call one of my patrons. You have a petition on top of his head for another working that I'm doing. We've got an apple right here, which is part of a ritual that I do every new moon. It involves eating an apple. It's kind of rotten because it's been a bit since new moon. We've got candles. Again, they're simple LED candles. And we've got some snakeskin that my friend gave me. We've got crossbones here with a bird skull. And we got crossbones back here. These ones in the back are chicken bones, I believe. And these ones are fox bones. And the skull is a deer skull that my friend gave me. Right here is my altar to Babylon, the Thelemic deity spirit concept thing. Who represents the liberated woman, the freed woman, and the scarlet woman. There's a lot of readings about her if you want to check them out. This altar setup is actually from Georgia Van Raff's Massive Babylon, which I will link in the description below. You can check that out. It's pretty cool. I do it every Saturday. We'll talk more about my daily rituals and weekly rituals eventually. But yeah, right here are 3 candles. Again, LEDs. This right here is a oil diffuser. I use it for rose oil, which I actually have in here. This right here is a notebook that I use for my writings. I haven't actually written it in a while. I've been very bad about that. But I use it for all my Babylon related gnosis. And then here's a printed off version of the Massive Babylon. And the center is a mirror, which to me is very symbolic, because it represents that you are Babylon. It represents that she is within you and is not an external being, some abstract concept. She is within you. We are Babylon, that kind of thing. This is salt, representing earth, the earth that trembles underneath her feet. And this is a chalice. It's normally filled with water. I refill it every Saturday in accordance with the Mass. Last Mass, I drank all of it. I don't always do that. And this chalice is filled with water, wine, or pomegranate juice. I don't have wine or pomegranate juice right now. I would fill it with pomegranate juice normally, though. It represents her sacred uterus and the birthplace of all mankind. Now right here is my altar to La Santa Muerte. She is a Mexican folk saint. I'll probably do a video on her later on. She's very fascinating, very interesting. I absolutely love and adore her. Our Lady of the Holy Death. So right here, we've got a statue of her. And on it, I have adorned her with a golden chain. For one of my spells, she asked me that I offer that to her in return. We've got some shells right here and over here that I found on the road. I decided to put them on her altar, and I think that she really likes them. Right here are some beads and a skull that my friend gave me that I really like, and I think that she really likes as well. We have a cup of water, which I use as a daily offering to her. I refill it every day and take a little bit of the water and put it on her mouth. It's sort of like a ritual. I can go more in depth about this later on if anyone's interested. But yeah, I refill that daily. Right here, it's a painting I did for her. La Niña Roja. Not Rosa, that's pink. I have an urge to say Niña Rosa more than Roja. For whatever reason. I don't know why. But yeah, there's that. There's this turtle shell I found while randonauting, and I filled it with coins this week. I fill it with a different offering every week and give the offering to her every Saturday in the graveyard. And we have a candle for her. Again, LED as usual. Don't want to get in trouble. Right here is not exactly an altar, but it is a workspace, so I'll show it off. This is where I keep my wax melts and oils. Here's a plate where all the wax I've melted is on. And this is a really simple setup. I use it instead of using candles. So we have these oils where I'll normally put them on petitions. I'll sometimes put them in spell jars if I do those. I don't really do spell jars that often, so I haven't had a need for that. And then these wax melts I use in place of candles for my candle spells. They're also good for setting the tone and mood. For example, I use this cinnamon for cleansing my space when I first moved in. It was really good for that. So yeah, here's my wax melter. And if you turn it on, it lights up. It's really cool. Right here is a very unconventional altar. This is something I normally wouldn't show off, but I feel like it's important to show off here, specifically because I want people to understand that not all altars have to be deity altars, workspace altars, or anything super fancy. So here is what I call my self-love / self-work altar. I think the first thing you'll notice about this altar is that it doesn't really look like an altar. It looks just like a normal, everyday, average space for doing self-care, cleaning, cleansing, all that sorts of thing. But really, It's about the intention behind it. You see, an altar doesn't need to be super fancy, doesn't need to be like super cool looking. It can just be this. And this works for self love. This works for daily cleansing, and everything like that. So yeah. Right here is my altar to the planet Mercury. Now, I'm a planetary practitioner. I do a lot of planetary magic. So I set up an altar to the planet I work with probably the most, which is Mercury. Here we have lavender in different cups. I really like this lavender. It's so cool. Yeah, it's just really cool. I like it. I got it from a lavender store in town. We got a skull made of opal because in Libra 777, it says that opal is the crystal associated with Mercury, and it's close to Samhain, so I figured I'd get a skull, fall themed, you know. This is a libation I gave recently on Mabon, which is a cup of apple juice, and the little fall cookie I got. It's orange, which corresponds with Mercury in the King's scale, so I thought that was really cool. Right here we got a little skeletal raven, and ravens are associated with Odin, who is a mercurial god, and so I just kind of felt it felt right to put here. We got a plate where I hold my video camera on. Kind of weird, kind of quirky, but you know, it do be like that. And here we have a little Cthulhu figure. Altars don't need to be super serious and super dramatic, they can be fun. I don't work with Lovecraftian entities typically. I just thought it was nice to have on my altar. He is the messenger of the Eldritch gods after all, which a friend pointed out to me. He is really interesting. I love Lovecraft. I don't love the person. I love his works. I think they're really interesting, and cosmic horror is just one of my favorite genres. But enough about that. This right here is not exactly an altar, but I use it to pray to the goddess Isis. Isis has been a deity that I have worked on and off with throughout my life as an occultist, but I find that she's really interesting, a great mother figure, and I want to appreciate her somehow. So I found this ankh at a store with her on it, so I decided to put it up. Now, under my Mercury altar, we have a few more things. Firstly is this money travel altar. Now, it does have a real candle in it, but I don't light it or anything. It has some coins in it, it has a sigil that I use for wealth and money attraction, and it has clear quartz. Very simple, very effective altar, used for gaining money and wealth. It's also in a cute little tin that I got. It's super inconspicuous, it works out great. Next up we have my holy water and holy anointing oil. Now I used the holy water recipe from the Greater Key of Solomon, which I will also link down below in the description. It's very simple, works very effectively, great for cleansing. And the holy anointing oil I use to anoint candles, I use to anoint myself. It's really good. I made it with olive oil and cinnamon, There's other recipes found within the Bible and one by Crowley. That one's Abramelin oil, which is a similar concept to what I'm using. Yeah, it works out really well. Very powerful, very effective. I use them in a lot of my candle spells, which I can't really do here, which is the worst thing in the world. Now this here is one of my oldest altars, one of the first ones I ever made. It has a ton of stuff in it. So let's get right into it. Here we have Seals of Solomon, all from Mercury. I don't want to go into detail about them here because that's quite a bit of information. We have a money jar that I will be doing a video on how to make because I need to redo that. More Seals of Solomon. We have the Thoth Tarot. We have my selenite wand, which I need to start using again. We have Miss Cleo's tarot, which is the first tarot deck I ever used. Right here are some symbols that I think you might find interesting. We have all the planets plus Earth. We have some eyes watching over me. Holy hexagrams. Earth, air, fire, water. The diabolic pentagram. Or adversarial pentagram. And the upright pentagram. We have two symbols. This one is witch. This one's also witch. They're both symbols that I came up with, and I use them relatively frequently. I might go into detail about them later, about their creation. Here's Saint Sebastian, who was my confirmation saint, and Our Lady of Lords. I don't really work with either of them, but I just thought they were cool to have. Some jars and a piece of citrine. Now here's my pentagram. We've got Morgan, Inanna, Isis, Astarte, Diana, Freya, Hecate, Demeter, Kali, Venus, and I made this quite a while ago. We've got another crystal. We've got some frankincense and myrrh oil. I do not recommend putting this on yourself. It burns like hell from personal experience. We've got some prayer cards. This card reminded me of the Empress, so I got it. And she's Saint Barbara. Really interesting. I never prayed to her. I just thought she looked like the Empress, so that was really cool. And Saint Bernadette. I used to go to a church named after her, and so that's why I have it. Some paper for writing petitions and seals on. Another jar. Another crystal. And amethyst from Brazil. So yeah, this is one of my very first altars. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, whatever you want. Share this video if you like. I hope you found something useful and interesting. So, until next time, I've been Ada. Have a nice day. Bye.